So this little talk that I'm going to give you isn't about to say anyone's bad or wrong, or there's good guys and bad guys or whatever. The point of this is just a kind of a revelation I had about the relationship of open source software and commercial software and the individuals that are part of each one of these processes. So I'm going to just jump right into this and make it real simple, but basically what I concluded, and this is partly from my own experience in the industry, is that open source software represents individuals that are the creators and the ideas sources of most all commercial software that we see today. And basically, this is the way I break it down. I break it down into the love for each of them based on the type of developer. Now, this doesn't include, I'm not going to say this is all-encompassing every single person, but I would say this is more of a general overview for my own personal observation. The open source developer has what I call a full heart, and you'll have to excuse my terrible writing using this pen, but that says open source, and you see that's a full heart. And the reason I describe it this way is because the creators of open source software, and I've created my own open source applications before, but there's an inherent, just natural love and affinity for creating software products. And so much of the time it's done, pro bono and no pay and nothing, and only because we enjoy doing that. So basically I say that's a whole heart because there's nothing else in between that creativity and creating that product, and there's no boundaries really, and no limits, because there's no money tied into it. There's no other restraints that keep the product from continuing except the individual. So anyway, I classify it as a whole heart, and because the whole heart is involved in the project and the process. Now, on the next level up, and again, I'm not saying this to make anyone wrong or bad, because look, we all need to make a living, and we all need to provide for ourselves and our families and buy food and homes, right? Or be able to get ourselves places with gasoline and cars. So but I'm going to categorize this next level of developer a half heart. I know this sounds bad, but what we've entered into on this is the commercial realm. Now, this is generally, wow, that's bad. This is generally a developer that derives his work from the open source work, meaning that the open source obviously was the source of the whole heart and the creativity and everything. And the commercial developer uses that as a guideline to create a product to sell. Now, it is often true that an open source product might be bought by a commercial company or something, and there's all kinds of other scenarios, but you have to bear with me here. So the commercial developer is more of a half-hearted developer because he's in it largely, I would say halfway, because he's obviously, likes what he does. He went to school or was trained or trained himself, and he's being paid halfway. So like if the check stops or the payment stops, then probably the development might even stop. So you see the whole heart keeps the drive going forward, whereas the commercial might have a money barrier of some kind, and everything just stops, if the money isn't returned. And of course, again, this isn't bad, because look, we all have to make a living. We all have to, sell our service to someone to buy food and water, right? Okay, so, and then now this is this might look bad, but okay, then at the commercial level, we have something way up above here, and we have, this is really bad, but we have no heart, right? And what this means is just, there's just one thing here, and it's just profit. It's just to make money. And I'm not saying, again, the analogy is a little bad, because just because someone's a business head and they can't think with creating applications or anything, and they can only think with business and selling, doesn't make them a bad person, right? They're just, what I'm comparing this heart to is the inherent creativity of making the product. But what you can see here is this pattern, right? We have the source guys right down here. Wow, I missed where letters and everything. And everything just goes upward, right, to commercial, and then up to the profit from these originating ideas down here, from the heart, right? So the point I'm making here is that, almost all software we see today, all software we see everywhere that we use every single moment, came from this. It came from this natural creativity from the open source developer. Now, I'm going to just say this, but these guys are like the unsung heroes, because very few people recognize, like, if you're talking to the average person, you see, like, Microsoft, and you're like, oh, Microsoft, yeah, that was created by geniuses and so forth. Well, maybe some of the business guys and the creators and the marketing guys and whatever put it together were pretty smart, but tracing it all the way back to the beginning and finding out where the actual software came from and the idea and how it was created, you'll find that it was down in this realm. So, I'm creating this really because I want you, as whoever's watching this, to really acknowledge the open source community. The guys who are out there really, honestly, on the front line creating the software for the future. And, I strongly believe that, this whole area of development and the process is just underrated and unrecognized. So I am making this video just to give a little bit of education and some very basic background, and I'm sure someone might want to correct me on some things or something and whatever. But my point is, as you can see, it's a very rough model and draft of this idea of the heart and how much heart is involved in the process and what open source really represents. And really, it's the foundation for nearly all software we use today. So thank your open source developer. Send him a donation for a product he created. Do something, because, what can you say? What more can you do than give back to that community? So anyway, I just wanted to do that and explain that a little bit, and I hope it made sense. And again, I'm not saying anyone in this process is a bad person or wrong or anything like that. Although, any one of these levels could have a bad habit in it, I guess. But anyway, well, thanks for watching, and I hope it was somewhat useful.